Hi everyone, this is Emily Leiphart here for Tailored Expressions, and in today's video I'm sharing projects using the Social Butterflies Cling and Clear combo with coordinating dies. This was a Stamp Joy exclusive and it's now available for purchase. The Cling stamp set comes with a cool sketchy background which serves as the perfect backdrop for these butterflies. You can use it simply as a single image and also create patterns with it, and I will show you 3 different ways to use it in this video. There are 6 outline butterflies of different sizes and shapes. There are also 5 sentiments that cover different occasions, from hello, birthday, and thanks, to thinking of you and general encouragement. The clear stamp set are the filler stamps that add color to the outlined butterflies, as well as 2 different trails. You can use these with colored inks or simply color the outlined butterflies with your favorite coloring medium. The coordinating dies cut out all the butterflies, making it easy to add dimension to your cards. Of course, you can also make 1-layer cards with this set. For my 3 cards today, I've selected these 6 ink colors. The colors I'm using are Pink Champagne, Potato Chip, Saltwater Taffy, and Lavender Glaze. I didn't end up using the sea salt, but I initially thought I might use it for the sketchy background, so that's why you see it here. For my first A2 sized card, I'm going to create quadrants using the sketchy background. I'll be using the Misty stamping tool to flip the panel so I can stamp both sides of the card symmetrically. I line up both the left and bottom edges of the background stamp with the center of the card panel. I use Potato Chip, clean the stamp, and leave it in place. Then I rotate the panel 180 degrees and ink up the stamp with Saltwater Taffy. Now I reposition the stamp 90 degrees from the first 2 colors to fill the other 2 quadrants. I use Lavender Glaze, clean the stamp, and leave it in place. Then I rotate the panel 180 degrees and ink up the stamp with Pink Champagne. Now my background is done. Moving on to my second A2 card, this one will feature the sketchy background again, but in its simplest form. I center the stamp on the panel and stamp it with Earl Grey ink. I set that aside and move to my third card design. I've die cut this slimline panel using the Mini Slim Square window cutting plate. There are 3 stitched scallop windows, and I want the sketchy background stamp to show through these windows. I've got a background piece with the same dimensions, and I use a pencil to lightly mark the corners of the windows so I know where to stamp on that background. I also draw 2 lines so I can eyeball the centers of the windows when I position the sketchy background stamp. I start in the center and ink it up with Pink Champagne. I follow my pencil lines and stamp the background on both ends of the panel. After I've stamped one of the ends, I just rotate the panel 180 degrees to stamp the other. This is the beauty of the Misty. It just makes everything easier. Here's what the panel looks like after I've erased the pencil marks. I love the look of this and was tempted to use it just as is without the windows. I will definitely have to make another card with a background like this. Now it's time to stamp the butterflies and fill them with color. I decided to stamp them all at once, so I would have a lot of butterflies to choose from when it comes time to create my layouts. I used Earl Grey ink to stamp 4 sets of outlines, 1 for each of the fill colors of Pink Champagne, Potato Chip, Saltwater Taffy, and Lavender Glaze. After die cutting all of the butterflies, I spent some time admiring them. I love that the filler stamps don't fill the images completely. The bit of white space adds so much whimsy to them, as do their sketched outlines. These are sweet and elegant at the same time, and I can imagine a beautiful scrapbook page filled with these butterflies. I don't usually share my process of arranging the elements because it takes a while, but I felt it was important to show it this time. I make a lot of changes and move things around a million times before I'm satisfied. This is part of the joy of creating. I will walk away and come back later if I'm unsure. Sometimes I'll need to restamp an image because there aren't enough, and this is what happened with the little blue butterfly on the slimline card. I had already assigned it to the first card, but the shape and color was necessary again on the third card. Clearly, the middle card was the one that gave me the most trouble, which is funny because I thought it would be my easiest and fastest card to make. I was determined to keep it fairly monochromatic, but the butterflies needed something else, so I decided to layer them with Pink Champagne cardstock. If I offset the 2 layers, I can give the wings both movement and dimension. It also makes them pop off the background more. Now it's time to stamp the sentiments. I'm using the sentiment that reads, "Celebrating You," to turn the slimline into a birthday card. I use a piece of acetate so I can do a practice stamp to make sure it's straight. I make any necessary adjustments and do the final stamping on the panel with Earl Grey ink to match the butterfly outlines. To turn this into a shaker card, I use score tape to secure a piece of acetate to the back of the windows. Then I use foam tape to create walls which will house the sequins. I've trimmed an Earl Grey card base and add sparkling clear sequins where the windows will be. I remove the backing from the foam tape and secure the panel to the card base, trapping the sequins inside those windows. Then I use glue dots to secure the butterflies to the front and my card is done. The way I arranged the butterflies is meant to create movement and draw your eye across the card. Now my first card is done. For my second card, I've trimmed small strips of cardstock to match the inks used to stamp the background. I'm using liquid glue to adhere them opposite of their stamped colors, so there's a contrast when I attach the panel to the card base. Before I attach the panel, I choose the Thanks sentiment and stamp it directly onto the panel using Earl Grey ink. Again, I use the acetate trick to test the alignment and remove it to do the final stamping. Once the panel is secured to the card base, I add the butterflies with foam tape and my card is done. This design is so simple, but I love how much the background and cardstock strips add to the card. For my third and final card, I've cut a silver glitter frame to add behind the panel. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I cut out the centers to save paper. I secure the silver frame with score tape, then set it aside to prepare the sentiment. I'm stamping the sentiment that reads, "Sending Hugs," on Oreo cardstock with sugar cube pigment ink. Then I heat emboss it with white embossing powder and I use my trimmer to cut it down to size. I want the wings of the butterflies to pop off the card on the left side, so I use a scoreboard to create score lines down the centers of both layers of the butterflies. Then I use liquid glue to secure the layers together, but only on the right side, and I make sure to offset the pink champagne layer so it shows. While I do this, I make sure to fold the butterflies in the center, and this will give them dimension when I attach them to the panel. I use glue dots on the right side of the butterflies to attach them to the card. Then I use foam tape to give the wings lift on the left side. Now my final card is done. Here's a review of all three cards, starting with the last card I made. This card has the least color and the simplest background, but the pink layers, heat embossed sentiment, and silver frame give it that wow factor. My second card has all four colors in rotation and would be easy to mass produce. Finally, the first card I completed is a shaker, and while it also uses all four colors, it is completely different from the previous card. The shaker element makes this card a strong contender for my favorite amongst the three. There are still so many other ways to use the Social Butterflies Cling and Clear combo with coordinating dies, and I hope you're inspired to create with them. Please let me know in the comments below which card design is your favorite. You can find all of these products in the Tailored Expressions web store at tailoredexpressions.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.